Everyone, this week Justin Trudeau's been meeting with opposition leaders and premiers of provinces, and while this was announced on Power and Politics, it says, quote, Parliament will be returning on the 5th of December. The 5th of December. Yes, we had the election on October 21st, but let's wait until December. Okay, said Justin Trudeau ahead of his meeting with Andrew Scheer. Last month, Canadians elected a parliament that they expect to work together, and that's exactly what I'm going to be focusing on doing. And he'll just be focusing on doing it next month. Later. Anybody going to Tofino because they definitely surf there in November? CTV News is reporting Trudeau to convene new parliament on December 5th. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau will convene the new parliament on Thursday, December 5th, comprised of all the members Canadians elected on October 21st. It was so long ago that CTV News felt compelled to remind people the election was on October 21st. Back to the article. The Liberal minority-led 43rd Parliament will begin with MPs electing a new House of Commons Speaker, and then Governor-General Julie Payette will preside over Trudeau's throne speech in the Senate. I still think this whole speaker campaign that the CBC is pushing for Miss May will rear its head on November 20th. So that's my prediction. So anybody want an over-under on that one? No? $5 in? We'll see. If I'm right. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Back to the article. The election of a new speaker, the impartial overseer of parliamentary procedure and head of House administration, is done by secret ballot. Those interested in the role are likely already reaching out to their colleagues to garner support. In the throne speech, Trudeau will unveil what his government's priorities will be, and it's likely to include major aspects of their 2019 federal election platform, such as climate change, affordability, gun control, and pharmacare. These are also issues spoken to by other parties during the 40-day campaign. Because of the renovations underway inside the center block, the House of Commons and Senate are now located in different buildings, which will add an extra layer of logistical considerations to the ceremony, which traditionally has the MPs walk down the hall from one chamber to the other, but now that process will have to travel down Wellington Street from the West Block to the Senate of Canada building. MPs will then spend up to 6 days debating the throne speech. The House of Commons calendar has members of Parliament sitting until December 13th before adjourning for several weeks over the holidays, but the Senate could sit until December 20th. All this week, the PM is in meetings with the opposition party leaders to see where common ground may be found. Last week, Trudeau indicated that these meetings would inform when to call the House of Commons back, but he announced this before the first meeting today with Conservative leader Andrew Scheer got underway. On his way into the meeting with Scheer Tuesday, Trudeau said that he was looking forward to cooperating together. Scheer had called on Trudeau to reconvene the Commons on November 25th. During a joint photo op in the Prime Minister's West Block office at the beginning of their meeting, Trudeau said it was a pleasure to sit down with Scheer, the leader of the official opposition. Last month, Canadians elected a parliament that they expect to work together, and that's exactly what I'm going to be focusing on doing, Trudeau said. Scheer said he appreciates the opportunity to discuss what his party's priorities will be and to know when the new session is getting underway. Quote, our country is more divided than it has ever been. We need to get to work as quickly as possible so that we can address the priorities of Canadians and bring our country closer together, Scheer said. Around 30 minutes later, Scheer left Trudeau's office and said his party's support for the throne speech, seen to be the Liberals' first confidence vote they'll need to pass to remain in power, will depend on what's in it. Quote, it's up to Mr. Trudeau to find common ground to get his throne speech passed, Scheer said. I scroll down a bit. Scheer said that he doesn't have anything planned, quote, at the moment to meet or talk with the other opposition party leaders to see whether common ground could be found amongst them. With a large ideological differences separating them, together all opposition parties hold enough seats to defeat the government should they decide to unite on an issue. I scroll down again. The Prime Minister is scheduled to unveil his new cabinet November 20th, giving them fewer than 2 weeks to get up to speed on their files before taking their seats in the House of Commons. Trudeau spent several days in private meetings lately where he's likely been having conversations about the composition of his front benches, with all but 2 current ministers holding their seats and several newcomers considered by the party to be star candidates. There's going to have to be a shakeup, but how dramatic it'll be remains to be seen. Ooh, ouch. Here's Andrew Scheer's comments, and it says, in our meeting today, well, hold on, I'll just read this. This is the Facebook comments, so I'll have both tweets or both links in the description. In our meeting today, I told Justin Trudeau that Canada is as divided as it ever has been. The steps I outlined are reasonable, achievable, and would begin to heal the divisions Trudeau sowed during the election campaign. Last week, I called on Trudeau to immediately recall Parliament to deal with 4 pressing policy areas: keeping Canada strong and united, helping Canadians get ahead, restoring ethics and integrity in government, and getting the energy sector back to work. In my meeting with Trudeau today, I laid out several measures Conservatives want to see in Trudeau's throne speech. 1. Keep Canada united and strong by launching a task force to study the establishment of a national energy corridor, which could bring Ontario and Quebec hydroelectricity to new markets, open up opportunities for Western Canadian oil and gas, and connect rural communities in Atlantic Canada and the North. 2. That's right, that was all 1. 2. Help Canadians get ahead by offering broad-based tax relief, providing a date for balancing the budget, and proceeding with a tax-free maternity benefits. 3. Restore ethics and accountability to government by introducing stronger penalties in the Conflict of Interest Act. 4. Get energy sector back to work by tabling a detailed plan with concrete deadlines to build the Trans Mountain expansion, and repeal Bill C-48 and C-69. 5. Take real action on the environment by drawing on policies from our real plan to protect the environment, such as the Green Patent Credit, the Canadian Clean Brand, the Green Home Renovation Tax Credit, and ending raw sewage dumps. 6. Immediately fund regional transit expansion in the GTA, starting with Ontario Line and Yonge Extension. 7. Reduce the paperwork burden on Quebecers by adopting a single tax return. You know what this doesn't really address? I mean, it talks about building pipelines, but it doesn't address the Western separation at all. And he's from Saskatchewan, so says he. He went and worked in Saskatchewan and then met his wife and raised his kids there. So, yeah, he's from Saskatchewan. But nothing on Western separation? Not saying that this is a thing being discussed and something we need to deal with ASAP? Come on, man. Weird. And this list of 7 things is a list of 20 things, because when you pack in, oh yeah, and also stop those raw sewage dumps, that's not an and. That's not an addition to something to tag on the end. Apparently that's A, really hard, and B, really expensive. To do that, the Harper government had a plan that was supposed to end in 2020 and was using tax dollars, Canadian tax dollars, to support municipalities who couldn't afford to do the upgrades. So yeah, just end those raw sewage dumps as part of number 5 sounds completely tone deaf, or you're hoping that your audience is ill-informed about the actual magnitude of the one of the points in number 5, right? And asking the government to adopt basically your green plan is not meeting in the middle. It's not. That's not working with anybody. That's saying, here's our plan, adopt it. Come on. You're supposed to be, come on. I feel like Job from Arrested Development, not from the Bible. Okay. CTV News, and this is the last story for today, is reporting more of the same, says Mo on lackluster meeting with Trudeau. And this is what Canada elected. More of the same. They said, yeah, that Trudeau guy, he's not that corrupt. I guess so. Carry on. That's what they said. So, I mean, I'm not sure what anybody is expecting other than more of the same. The SNC-Lavalin will have their DPA because it was put into law in 2018. And the Attorney General, who just went through an election, is going to say it was in the law in 2018 and nobody was complaining about it, because nobody complained about it because we had this election, right? Well, everybody complained about it, but not enough to get anything moved. So SNC-Lavalin's going to get a DPA. It's more of the same, everyone. This is what we elected. So buckle up and enjoy. I don't know what anybody's expecting. Nothing's going to change. It's going to get worse. And it's got to get a lot worse before it gets better, because there are people who are far too comfortable. And I don't want people to be uncomfortable. That's not my point. My point is, Canadian politics is full of complacent people who don't look for change if they're not uncomfortable. And they're not uncomfortable. And so that's it. And to get them uncomfortable, it has to get worse. I don't want it to get worse. But that's the catch-22 we're in. Back to the article. Okay. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe came out of a meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau disappointed with what he says is a lack of commitment to address Western needs. Well, you have a Conservative Party leader who didn't talk about West. He was like, you know what? Get those Quebecers, on a single tax return. That'll make things easier. And stop those raw sewage dumps. And nothing about Western separation. Apparently nobody cares, Mr. Moe. Apparently nobody cares. Welcome to Ontario and Quebec that have the most seats. So, even post-election where Alberta and Saskatchewan are looking at separating, the CPC leader is saying, yeah, well, don't worry about that, but make sure Quebec gets taken care of. We want to simplify their lives. Right? Okay. Goodness. We have provided some options for Trudeau, back to the article, to support the people of the province, and today I did not hear a commitment to moving forward on those items, said Mo. I scroll down. I came here today to hear about what he was going to do differently to support the industries and the people in the province, he said. I hear more of the same. Among them, a 1-year moratorium on carbon tax, renegotiating equalization payments, and completing the Trans Mountain Pipeline. While there's been much talk of Western separatism mobilized through the grassroots Wexit movement, the Saskatchewan Premier has said his province will work within the confines of federation. The strength of our nation is some of the strengths of all of our provinces, and Saskatchewan has been an outsized contributor over the last number of years, said Mo, who added that he would not abandon his province despite what he deems as inaction on the part of the Prime Minister. He also said Bill C-69, done by industry groups as the No More Pipelines bill, which will revise the regulatory review process of major energy projects, must be viewed as a limitation to economic growth. Quote, it will hinder our ability not only for new mines, but will hinder our ability to get our products to market, said Mo. In the immediate term, the province will continue with their carbon tax court challenge and diversifying their trading networks globally to spark revenue generation, the Premier said. I scroll down again. Alberta Premier Jason Kennedy has been vocal on the topic of Western alienation. In a speech at a regional Manning Center conference, in Edmonton last Saturday, Kenny outlined what a fair deal would look like for Albertans, which includes the creation of a new panel to study big questions, including whether Alberta should pull out of the Canada Pension Plan. In a subsequent interview on CTV Power Play, Mo said his government would consider a similar move. Quote, most certainly I do see following and entertaining the conversation around items just like that and more. This is a time for us as a province, and maybe others, considering the divisions that we see manifesting themselves, to see what we can do in a way of enhancing our provincial autonomy. And I did an article or a report on Kenny's speech a few days ago before the Don Cherry thing broke up, and he was talking about that, and it was a big speech, and bringing those kind of services in-house in province is not a small deal. It is a very big deal. And the Ontario has Ontario Provincial Police, OPP, in addition, and so we don't have the RCMP patrolling the north in our province, for example, right? But if Alberta went this route or Saskatchewan went this route, it would be one more plank in the separatism or the further autonomization of the province, which is, Trudeau is looking for more control with the carbon tax, etc. And this is an interesting move because Mo is very clear that he wants to stay within Canada, stay within the Federation, but at the same time is willing to build parallel services to get Ottawa out. So interesting, right? Interesting stuff. Thanks for watching, everybody. That's it for me this morning. And check out CanadaPoly.com and have a wonderful, wonderful day.